My girlfriend announced, without warning, that our relationship was now open. She thought she'd have all the power until her own cousin told her about my quiet coffee date. And that was the moment she realized her pride had cost her everything. When people tell you relationships are about communication, it sounds cliché, like something lifted from a fridge magnet or a premarital counseling brochure. But in practice, it's the foundation. If you lose that, everything else is quicksand. I'm 31, she's 28. Let's call her Maya. We'd been together for almost 3 years, lived together for two. I wouldn't have described us as perfect, but we functioned. Bills split, grocery lists synced on a shared app, Sunday rituals of cleaning while blasting terrible 90s pop. We had our little fights about whose turn it was to take out the trash or why she'd let laundry pile up until it was the size of Everest. Normal couple stuff. But somewhere in the last 6 months, I started noticing Maya drift. Not in the dramatic, she's cheating on me way. More subtle. Her phone always face down, sure, but she'd also stay longer at her friends' girls' nights and come home with a different kind of glow. She'd bring up podcasts about relationship freedom, talk about how monogamy is a social construct. Nothing confrontational, just little comments dropped like seeds. I remember one conversation particularly well. We were folding laundry, ironic, I know, when she said, don't you think humans aren't really designed for one partner forever? I shrugged. I think humans are designed for whatever they agree on with their partner. If it's one, it's one. If it's more, then it's more. But it's mutual. She smiled, almost slyly. Yeah, mutual. At the time, I let it slide. But it stuck in my head. Fast forward a couple months. We're out at a small dinner with friends. Nothing fancy, just pasta and wine. Everyone's laughing, telling stories. Then, right before dessert, Maya decides it's her stage. She clinks her glass, leans in, and says, and I quote, "So, I've decided to open our relationship. Not we've discussed, not we've agreed. Just, I've decided." You could feel the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. Everyone looked at me, waiting for a reaction. My girlfriend had just announced, like she was chairing a corporate meeting, that my exclusivity contract was void. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even set my fork down. I just smiled and said, "Excellent." The timing couldn't be more perfect. Maya blinked, clearly expecting a protest, maybe even a meltdown. Instead, I poured myself more wine. The conversation awkwardly limped back into neutral territory, but I saw her shift in her seat, like she'd swallowed something too hot. That night, she tried to debrief. "I thought you'd be more open-minded," she said carefully. "I am," I replied. "I think it's a great idea. You should absolutely explore." She squinted at me. "You're taking this weirdly well. Would you rather I beg you not to?" "No, she stopped. "I thought it would be different." And that's when I knew. This wasn't about exploration. It was about power, about testing boundaries, about her wanting control over the rulebook. But here's the thing. If you want to play games, you better be ready when the ball comes back over the net. The very next day, I went for a coffee with someone I'd known for years, Maya's cousin, of all people. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't romantic, not at first. It was just two adults catching up, talking about work, life, and how weird family dynamics can get. But it was public, and it was visible. I didn't announce it, didn't brag, didn't post on social media, just lived my life. Turns out, I didn't need to announce anything, because her cousin mentioned it casually to Maya later that evening. Something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, I grabbed coffee with me yesterday. It was nice catching up." Maya came home pale, her jaw tight. She tossed her keys on the counter harder than usual. "Coffee with my cousin?" she said flatly. "Yep," I replied, stirring my tea. She reached out, so we met up. Her eyes narrowed. "You could have told me." "Could have," I said. "But in an open relationship, do I really need to?" That was the moment it hit her. The realization that she had written a rulebook without considering what it would feel like when someone else started playing by it. Her little declaration of freedom wasn't a one-way ticket. It applied to both of us. And in that instant, the bravado drained out of her. She realized her pride had been the first casualty of her own decision. The silence that followed my remark. In an open relationship, do I really need to? Stretched longer than either of us expected. Maya wasn't used to me playing it cool. Usually, when we argued, I'd push to resolve things quickly. But this time I didn't fill the silence for her. I just sipped my tea. She finally said, "It's different when it's family." Different. I asked, raising an eyebrow. You said we're open now. That means no special exemptions, right? Her lips pressed together. She wanted to argue, but she couldn't without contradicting herself. The next few days were strange. Maya hovered around me more than usual. She'd ask casual questions about my schedule. So, where are you going tonight? Out. I'd reply simply. With who? Does it matter? We're open. It drove her crazy. Not because she suspected anything wild was happening, but because she suddenly wasn't in control of the script anymore. Her friends noticed too. One even DM'd me on Instagram. Hey, I thought you and Maya were exclusive? I politely replied, ask her about that. Sure enough, the next evening, Maya stormed into our bedroom holding her phone. Why are you making me look bad to my friends? She demanded. I looked up from my laptop. I didn't say anything untrue. You told everyone at dinner we're open. I just confirmed it. That stopped her cold. She was realizing her announcement, once designed to give her leverage, was now being weaponized by its own logic. About a week later, I got invited to drinks with coworkers. Normally, Maya would barely notice. But this time, she got dressed up too. Mind if I come? She asked sweetly. I shrugged. It's mostly work talk, but sure. She clung to my arm all evening, laughing a little too loud at my jokes, touching my shoulder every 5 minutes. People noticed. I wasn't mean about it, but I didn't reciprocate much. She was performing, and the performance reeked of insecurity. Later that night, as we brushed our teeth, she muttered, You didn't seem very into me tonight. I spat out the toothpaste and said, You seemed into the idea of being into me. That's different. She didn't reply. The cousin incident became a thorn she couldn't stop picking. Even though it had been harmless coffee, she brought it up constantly. Why her? She asked one Saturday morning. Why not? I answered. Because she's family. I smiled faintly. And because she made you jealous. Her face hardened. That's manipulative. I tilted my head. Is it? Or is it the natural consequence of a rulebook you wrote without consulting me? Then came the kicker. She tried to renegotiate. We were making dinner, chopping vegetables side by side, when she blurted, Maybe we rushed into the whole open thing. Maybe we should set guidelines. Guidelines. I repeated, Yeah, like, not with people we know, or at least not family, and maybe only if we tell each other first. I set my knife down, turned to face her, and asked, So, let me get this straight. You get to unilaterally open the relationship in public without asking me. But when I actually take you at your word, suddenly we need guidelines. She flushed. That's not fair. No, I said calmly. What's not fair is you thinking you could control both sides of the game. That's not how partnerships work. You don't get to be referee and player at the same time. She didn't say anything after that. The unraveling accelerated. Our intimacy disappeared almost overnight, not because I withheld it, but because she seemed consumed by the paranoia that I was already moving on. Her text got clingier. Where are you? Who are you with? When will you be home? Every ping was laced with the fear that she was no longer the center of my universe. And the truth is, she wasn't. For the first time in years, I realized how peaceful it felt to sit in a cafe alone, to walk through a bookstore without rushing home, to make plans without accounting for someone else's approval. Freedom didn't feel like multiple partners. It felt like autonomy. One night, as we lay in bed, she whispered, Do you even want to be with me anymore? I could have softened it. I could have said, Of course, we're just figuring things out. But something in me had shifted. I didn't want to lie anymore. So I answered honestly, I don't know. I thought I did. But the way you handled this, it makes me wonder if we ever wanted the same thing. Her breath caught. She turned away, pulling the blanket up to her chin. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing that this wasn't about open relationships at all. It was about respect. And once that cracks, it's nearly impossible to repair. That was the real backfire. Not me seeing other people, not the cousin coffee, not the jealousy. It was that in trying to assert her independence without regard for mine, she'd exposed the hollow core of our relationship. And from that moment on, I wasn't fighting to save us. I was slowly, carefully, preparing to walk away. Update. I guess I always thought breakups happened in explosive moments. Someone yells, someone cries, doors slam. Words you can't take back are thrown like daggers. But this wasn't like that. What happened between Maya and me was more like erosion, slow, steady, inevitable. One wave at a time until the foundation gave way. It started the night I found her boundaries document. I'd just gotten back from work, drained after a 12-hour shift. My plan was simple: shower, heat up leftovers, maybe play some music before bed. Instead, I walked into the living room and saw Maya sitting rigidly on the couch, her laptop open in front of her, her hands clenched on her knees like she was waiting for a firing squad. When she looked up, her face was pale. "We need to talk," she said. Those 4 words. They sound so small. But in my stomach, something dropped. She slid the laptop toward me. A Google Doc filled the screen with a title in bold letters: Boundaries for Our Open Relationship. My throat went dry before I even started reading. Still, I forced my eyes down the page. Rule 1: No family members. Rule 2: No coworkers or close friends. Rule 3: No overnight stays. Rule 4: No repeating partners without discussion. Rule 5: All new encounters must be disclosed in advance. It was long, detailed, almost clinical. She had even color-coded sections: green for acceptable, yellow for caution, red for forbidden. I closed the laptop gently, like it was something fragile that might shatter. "Maya," I said carefully, "what is this?" She wrung her hands. "I know I sprung everything on you last time. I realized I wasn't being fair. So I wrote these. If we follow the rules, it'll be safe for both of us. No one gets hurt." Her voice was trembling, her words rehearsed, as though she'd been repeating them to herself for hours. I leaned back, studying her. "Do you hear yourself? You're trying to regulate chaos with a spreadsheet. That's not safety, Maya. That's control." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm trying. Isn't that what you want? I thought you wanted me to meet you halfway." I sighed. "Halfway? Maya, there is no halfway when one person burns the bridge before asking if the other person even wanted to cross." Silence. Her lip quivered. "You're just going to give up?" she whispered. "No," I said softly. "I gave up the night you told me, without blinking, that you'd opened our relationship. I just didn't realize it yet." That night, while she lay curled in bed facing the wall, I stood in the doorway of our bedroom with my duffel bag. The sound of the zipper felt deafening in the stillness. I folded clothes mechanically: shirts, jeans, socks, underwear, laptop, charger, toiletries. Just enough to leave. She turned suddenly, her face streaked with tears. "What are you doing?" I paused, holding a pair of sneakers. "I think you know. You can't just walk out. After 3 years." "I can," I said quietly. "And I am." She scrambled up, gripping the blanket like armor. "You'll regret this. You'll come back." I hesitated with my hand on the doorknob. "The only thing I regret is thinking you valued me the way I valued you." Then I left. The first night alone was surreal. I checked into a cheap extended stay hotel near the office. The sheets were scratchy, the fridge hummed too loudly, and the bed felt cavernous without her beside me. But for the first time in months, maybe years, I slept straight through the night without waking to an argument, a slammed door, or the gnawing anxiety of what's next. The texts began almost immediately. First, anger. "You're a coward for walking away. Running away doesn't make you strong." Then, bargaining. "Please, let's talk. We can fix this. I'll close everything. Just come home." Finally, desperation. "I miss you. I can't sleep without you. Remember when we said forever?" I read every word, but I didn't respond. 3 days later, I got a call from her cousin, the same one I'd had coffee with, the same one who unknowingly triggered the unraveling. "Hey," she said cautiously, "can we meet? I feel like I owe you an explanation." We met at a quiet cafe off Main Street. She wore a nervous smile, fiddling with her scarf. "I didn't mean to cause problems," she began. "When I told Maya I'd seen you for coffee, she lost it. She accused me of trying to steal you, of betraying her. I told her it wasn't like that, but she wouldn't hear it." I stirred my coffee slowly. "It's not your fault. You were just the mirror she didn't want to look into." Her cousin bit her lip. "She's been calling me nonstop, begging me to tell her what we talked about. I think she's panicking." I gave a humorless laugh. She thought she could push me around forever. Now she's realizing I can push back. Meanwhile, I started rebuilding. My new apartment was small, but it was mine. I filled the fridge with food I actually liked instead of what fit Maya's diet phases. I dusted off my guitar, picked up running again, even rejoined a local soccer league. Every day, I discovered something new I hadn't realized I'd lost: the freedom to just be. One night, a mutual friend texted me. She's been trying to date someone from her friend group. It lasted 2 weeks. He called her controlling and bailed. The irony was almost poetic. The open relationship she insisted on had slammed shut in her face. Still, some nights were hard. I'd find myself scrolling through old photos, trips to the coast, lazy Sundays with her head on my chest, the ring of her laughter that had once been the soundtrack of my life. I'd wonder if I'd made a mistake. If maybe, deep down, love meant forgiving evenness. But then I'd remember that night at dinner. The smug tilt of her chin as she raised her glass and announced the new terms of our relationship like a corporate memo. She didn't ask. She didn't even look at me. She just decided. And in that moment, I became an accessory to her choices, not a partner in her life. That memory was enough to put the phone down every time. By the end of the month, the texts slowed. She went from 20 a day to 10 to the occasional late night, "I miss you," that I never answered. Eventually, they stopped altogether. The silence was loud, but it wasn't painful anymore. It was peaceful. Looking back, I realized the breakup wasn't about an open relationship at all. It was about respect, or the lack of it. She thought love was possession, that she could rewrite the rules mid-game and I'd just play along. She thought control was intimacy. She thought pride could replace partnership. But pride was the first casualty. Our relationship was the second. And my freedom, that was the prize I walked away with. Final update. It had been 6 months since I walked out of that apartment with nothing but a duffel bag and my self-respect. 6 months of silence, of carving out a new life from the ruins of the old one. At first, the quiet was deafening. I'd wake up and instinctively roll over to an empty space where Maya used to be. Sometimes, in that half-dream state, I'd almost hear her voice, sharp and impatient, calling me to hurry up or reminding me about errands. Then reality would settle, and I'd realize the only voice left was my own. But over time, the quiet became soothing, healing. I'd found rhythm again. My mornings started with coffee on the balcony of my new place, watching the sun creep over the city. Work felt lighter without emotional chaos weighing me down. I reconnected with old friends Maya had pushed away and even started dating casually. Nothing serious, just the thrill of company without the suffocation of control. I thought I'd closed that chapter completely. Until last Friday night. A mutual friend, Alex, had invited me to a charity gala. Nothing fancy, just a fundraiser with local business folks, some live music, and a silent auction. I went mostly out of boredom and curiosity. I was chatting near the bar when I heard it, her laugh. That unmistakable laugh. I froze. My heart kicked against my ribs. Slowly, I turned. And there she was. Maya. She looked almost the same, but not quite. Her hair was styled perfectly, her dress elegant, but there was a tension in her face that I recognized instantly, the tight smile of someone barely holding themselves together. And she wasn't alone. On her arm was a man I vaguely recognized. One of those new connections she'd mentioned when the whole fiasco started. He was tall, expensive looking, but his expression was distant, almost bored. Our eyes met. Her smile faltered. I nodded politely, then turned back to Alex, continuing our conversation as if nothing had happened. Inside, though, I was bracing myself. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, she found me. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice low, almost pleading. I sighed. "Maya, this isn't the time. Please, just 5 minutes." I studied her. The same woman who once declared our relationship open, without blinking, now looked like a shadow of herself. Against my better judgment, I nodded. We stepped into a quieter hallway. She crossed her arms, trying to appear composed. "You look good." "Thanks," I said flatly. "You're different. Happier." Her eyes softened. "I guess I didn't realize how much I took from you until you were gone." I raised an eyebrow. "And now you realize?" She swallowed hard. "I thought I wanted freedom. I thought having options meant power. But all it did was leave me alone." I said nothing, letting the silence stretch. Her voice cracked. "Every guy I tried to date, it blew up. They said I was controlling, or they just wanted me for fun. No one stayed. No one cared. And then, I saw you tonight, and it hit me. I lost the one person who actually loved me." The words might have cut deep once. But now, they barely scratched the surface. I took a slow breath. "Maya, I did love you. More than you'll ever know. But love isn't enough when there's no respect. You made decisions for both of us without asking. You treated me like a backup plan. You thought I'd stay no matter what. That wasn't love. That was convenience." Her eyes filled with tears. I was stupid. I thought you'd always be there. I shook my head. You were right about one thing. I was always there. Until the day you opened the door for yourself and slammed it on me. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. I'm not here to hurt you, Maya, I said gently. But I'm not coming back. I've built something better for myself. Something peaceful. You should try to do the same. Her shoulders crumpled. For the first time, she didn't look like the confident, commanding Maya who always had the last word. She looked small, lost. I left her standing there. Back inside, Alex gave me a curious look, but didn't pry. The rest of the night, I felt lighter. Not because I'd seen her broken, but because I'd realized I wasn't. Walking away hadn't just been an escape, it had been a rebirth. And in that moment, I knew the story was truly over. A week later, Maya sent one last message. I hope someday you forgive me. I didn't reply. Some doors don't need to be reopened. Some stories don't need sequels. Mine was already moving forward, and for the first time in a long time, I was writing it alone.